What's the biggest party of the summer that even the world of sports can't ignore? SummerSlam 2026.
All right, I'm Garrett, and I'm feeling excited today. Let's dive right in, because this topic has, stadium-sized energy written all over it.
I'm Leah, so happy to be here. Welcome to Laid Back Learning with Leah and Garrett. I've been thinking about this one all week, and it's going to be a blast.
Okay, so here's where we start. SummerSlam 2026. WWE's two-night stadium show in Minneapolis at US Bank Stadium. It's one of the company's Big Five events and honestly, second only to WrestleMania in scale and hype. Production is top tier, and audiences access it via traditional pay-per-view, buying a single event, and via streaming, which WWE calls premium live events, a live broadcast on a subscription platform.
Picture this: massive entrance sets, wild lighting, music that rattles your ribs. I went to a wrestling show a few years back, not SummerSlam, but a big televised event. I remember being totally absorbed by the larger-than-life characters. The moment the pyro hit, I felt it in my chest. A kid next to me knew every theme song and called every move before it happened. Watching their joy, I kind of got swept up. By the end, I was cheering for someone I'd never heard of 90 minutes earlier. That's the magic these shows pull off, right?
Yeah, that checks out. So basics. SummerSlam is WWE's annual August spectacle, branded the biggest party of the summer. It's where spring and early summer storylines finally pay off. Think of it like a season finale vibe. SummerSlam started back in 1988 and has grown into one of WWE's tentpoles. Minneapolis actually hosted SummerSlam once before in 1999, but that was in an arena. 2026 is the first time the city gets a full stadium event, and because US Bank Stadium is an indoor venue, WWE can go wild with pyro and staging without worrying about weather. This year it runs across 2 nights in August 2026, which gives the card breathing room.
And this year's distribution is a story on its own. In the United States, it's streaming on ESPN for the first time. That's a service people associate with traditional sports like football and basketball, so this move signals WWE leaning even harder into the sports lane. Internationally, it's on Netflix in most markets, SuperSport in Sub-Saharan Africa, and Abema in Japan, so a lot of people can tune in easily.
Switching gears a bit, the streaming jump to ESPN in the US follows the end of WWE's Peacock deal last year. It's surprising and kind of smart. On ESPN, WWE sits right next to stick and ball sports, which might capture casual fans who think they're just hopping on for a baseball game and then notice SummerSlam front and center. Meanwhile, Netflix carries a lot of the globe, which is a major reach play. Next up, the matches. The undisputed WWE Championship is CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes. CM Punk is a veteran known for sharp on-mic promos and big match storytelling. Cody Rhodes is the resilient fan favorite with a legacy name and a never-say-die vibe. Punk returned from a hiatus in July 2026 and beat Sami Zayn for the title that same night, which was a shock. Then Cody, who had been in that title picture, stepped up to challenge, and a tag win with Punk in July 2026 kept it one-on-one for SummerSlam.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship. Roman is the dominant, long-running top guy with a cool, strategic style. Seth Rollins is the workhorse showman who actually held that title but vacated it due to injury last October. Rollins never lost it in the ring, so there's a real claim there. And their history runs back to The Shield, their old trio, which exploded when Rollins attacked Roman with a chair in 2014. This match is a decade-plus of baggage in one bell.
Speaking of baggage, Oba Femi versus Brock Lesnar in Hell in a Cell. Quick definition: Hell in a Cell is the giant roofed steel cage match where the environment is brutal and decisive. Brock Lesnar is the crossover star and powerhouse, and Oba Femi is the rising force who won King of the Ring in June 2026. They've split big wins this year. Femi beat Brock at WrestleMania 42 in April 2026. Then Brock beat Femi at Clash in Italy after 7 F5s, which is Brock's signature slam. Femi earned a guaranteed world title shot by winning King of the Ring, but he gave it up just to settle this in the cell. That's personal vindication over gold, and I'm down for that level of drama.
Let's unpack the women's scene. Liv Morgan, who is the women's world champion on Raw, defends against Io Sky. Liv has been crafty and opportunistic, and Io is a spectacular high flyer who won Queen of the Ring this year, even beating Liv in the finals. That twist matters. Liv tried to pull the double champ dream, entered the tourney, and Io turned it into a direct title challenge. Then, separate but huge, there's an interim WWE Women's Championship ladder match because Rhea Ripley, the reigning champ on SmackDown, tore her meniscus. A ladder match means a championship hangs above the ring and the first person to climb a ladder and retrieve it wins. Qualifiers include Tiffany Stratton, an athletic up-and-comer, Jade Cargill, a powerhouse, Chelsea Green, the savvy opportunist, and Charlotte Flair, a decorated multi-time champion. One last spot goes to either Julia or Lash Legend, depending on the final qualifier. That's a stacked field.
Here's another angle to look at. The Intercontinental Championship is Penta defending against Chad Gable. Penta, also known as Pentagon Jr., is a lucha libre specialist. He comes from the Mexican high-flying, mask-rooted tradition. Gable had mocked that style a year ago and even wrestled under a parody mask as El Grande Americano. But after losing to Penta in January 2025, he changed. He unmasked in a AAA in May 2026 and publicly apologized to luchadors like Rey Fenix. So this rematch is layered with respect and redemption. Plus, it's Gable's home turf in Minneapolis. That's a story worth telling.
Moving right along. The Bloodline saga continues in a six-man tag. LA Knight, Solo Sikoa, and Royce Keys face the Bloodline's Jacob Fatu with the Usos, Jay and Jimmy Uso. Quick IDs, LA Knight is the crowd catchphrase machine with a brawling style. Solo Sikoa is the younger enforcer of the NOI family tree who was courted to rejoin the Bloodline but chose to attack them instead. Royce Keys is the rising prospect aligned with Knight and Sikoa here. Jacob Fatu is the ferocious heavyweight cousin who's been integrated into Roman Reigns' circle after tribal combat in Italy. The hook is family schism. That's heavy and compelling.
Gunther versus Nick Aldis is another big one. Gunther is the hard-hitting technician who dominated as Intercontinental Champ for ages. Nick Aldis has been the SmackDown general manager, basically the on-screen executive making matches, but he's a decorated wrestler outside WWE. Their friction escalated after title scene controversies. Aldis literally gave up his GM role to fight him at SummerSlam. That blurs the line between office and ring, and I could get behind that idea.
And then you have variety matches that give the card texture. Danhausen, the quirky, comedic wrestler who leans into curses, versus Dominic Mysterio, the brash villain son of legend Rey Mysterio, with $100,000 on the line. That money came from Liv Morgan trying to pay for a curse on Oba Femi, which backfired hilariously. There's also Sami Zayn versus Finn Balor to decide the next challenger for the undisputed title. Zayn just had a short reign before CM Punk returned to take the belt. Finn is the cool, calculating veteran who can pick apart anyone, and Trick Williams defends the United States title against Baron Corbin, the veteran bruiser who jumped him on SmackDown. It's a full menu.
Now, big picture implications. The interim women's ladder match keeps Rhea Ripley's championship aura intact while she heals and sets up a unification angle later. That's delayed gratification storytelling. Nick Aldis stepping down to fight Gunther tells you pride matters more than power here. The Zayn versus Balor match guarantees a clear number one contender after SummerSlam, which steadies the main event waters even if Punk and Cody go to war. The Bloodline six-man keeps the family chessboard moving because Solo Sikoa's rejection of his brothers and cousin says the reunion is far from sealed. And Gable's arc with Lucha Respect adds heart to a mid-card belt. That's something to chew on, huh?
Why go two nights, though? Honestly, it lets WWE give these matches time to breathe. Elaborate entrances matter for the spectacle. And US Bank Stadium being indoors means lighting and pyro cues don't fight wind or rain. Also, Minneapolis becomes the hub for a whole weekend. You can feel the city's energy wrap around it. Distribution-wise, being on ESPN in the US and Netflix internationally means the show lives in feeds where sports fans already scroll. That's close to the heart of it, using placement to capture attention.
All right, time for a spicy one, Brock Lesnar's retirement tease. After WrestleMania 42, Brock left his gloves and boots in the ring, which in wrestling language often signals retirement. Then, weeks later in May 2026, he returned and wrecked Obafemi with a barrage of F5s. So, was that a real retirement moment or a mind game?
Real talk. I think it was genuine in the moment. He had just lost to Femi. That gesture looked raw. Then time passes, and the competitor in him couldn't sit with it. He comes back to settle an open wound. In that reading, the ambiguity is human more than sneaky. Emotions are high. You do a symbolic goodbye and then you wake up and think, not like this.
Counterpoint, Eileen mind game. Brock is the master of aura. Leaving the gear might have been a setup to lower Femi's guard, make him think the mountain moved on. Then boom, return attack. In kayfabe terms, the fictional reality of wrestling stories, playing with expectations is currency. Plus, he followed through by beating Femi at Clash in Italy after 7 F5s. That's a decisive exclamation mark that says, I write my own epilogue.
Why would he choose a mind game when he could just challenge him outright, though? If I'm Obafemi, I'm expecting the rematch, right?
Because uncertainty tilts the field. If Femi thinks Brock's done, he focuses on title shots and tournaments. Then Brock's ambush knocks everything off axis. Suddenly, Femi's path changes from championship chase to vendetta. That's how you pull a rival out of his rhythm. And it worked so well that Femi gave up a guaranteed world title shot to lock Brock inside Hell in a Cell. That's a mind game paying dividends.
I hear you. Still, the human reading sticks with me. Brock has flirted with those final chapter vibes before. Maybe it was a moment of, I'm out. Then the competitor flared back to life when he saw Femi crowned King of the Ring in June 2026. Also, Paul Heyman, Brock's longtime advocate and master strategist, has been known to frame these moments smartly on screen. Either way, the ambiguity gave this feud extra electricity.
That's a solid point. And big picture, SummerSlam thrives on those questions. Meanwhile, on the pop culture side, the brand of biggest party of the summer is sticky. Pair that with ESPN streaming in the US, and you start imagining crossover segments on studio shows, highlights packages living in the same space as baseball clips, and maybe even pre-show panels that look more like Sunday football than a wrestling countdown. It hits different when you're on a sports backbone.
Totally. You put WWE shoulder to shoulder with mainstream sports, and it normalizes the idea that this is appointment live viewing. That could mean more athlete crossovers or analysts breaking down momentum swings in a match the same way they'd analyze a fourth quarter drive. Can you believe that's even a thing we're talking about? Feels like doors are opening.
Here's a thought I've been turning over. What if Obafemi had not relinquished his King of the Ring title shot? Where does that leave SummerSlam?
All right, let's set the stage for this one. If Femi kept the shot, he could have chosen a world champion. Depending on timing, that might have been Roman Reigns on the world heavyweight side or CM Punk on the undisputed side after Punk's July 2026 win. Either path reshapes the card. We might not get Hell in a Cell. Instead, we get a king aiming to crown his year with a title. That puts Brock Lesnar in limbo. Maybe he pivots to another high-profile grudge, or he sits SummerSlam out, which feels unlikely given his star power.
And without the cell match, Femi's story becomes a traditional ascent. Win the tourney, cash the credibility, try to take a belt. That's clean, but it's not as emotionally charged. The cell transforms Femi from hungry contender into a principled avenger. Also, if he challenged Punk or Reigns, the rest of the main event lane might get congested. Cody Rhodes could be rerouted. Rollins versus Reigns might have stayed, but the spotlight distribution shifts. 2 nights helps, sure, but you still only have so many true main event beats.
New threat incoming. There's also the psychological side. If Femi takes a title shot and wins, the Lesnar problem still lingers. Does that cloud his reign? By choosing Hell in a Cell, he tries to close that chapter first, then chase gold with a clear head. I kind of love that order. It's brave, and it tells the crowd what he values. Vindication now, championships next.
All right, that ties it up nicely. SummerSlam 2026 has history, spectacle, and some seriously layered stories. Stay curious, and we'll catch you next time.
And that's where we'll leave it for now. Thanks for hanging with us. We'll be back soon with more to explore on Laid Back Learning with Leah and Garrett.